The moment we pressed start on this game, I swear something was off. Not the normal kind of creepy that you get used to in horror games, like flickering menus or some edgy music in the background. No, this felt heavy, like the air in the room itself shifted the second the screen loaded, and then, boom. Nothing, just a black screen, dead silent, like the game was holding its breath, waiting for us to do something stupid. And of course we did. We pressed forward. At first, I thought maybe the game crashed. You know how some indie horror games are, glitchy, laggy, made in someone's basement. But then a sound, a single deep thud, like footsteps, slow, heavy, dragging footsteps echoing through a place we couldn't even see yet. And suddenly my stomach just dropped. I remember literally saying, "Okay, who invited the Doom soundtrack?" But the laugh didn't even come out right. It was nervous because those steps, they weren't stopping, they were getting closer. Then the title card appeared. Just one line of text, the giant that refuses to die. No flashy animations, no creepy ghost faces. Just those words burning on the screen in stark white. And you know how sometimes when something is too simple, it's actually scarier. That's exactly how it felt. Like the game didn't need to try to scare us. It already knew it had us. We hit start. The screen faded in slowly, like it didn't even want to show us where we were. When the picture finally came through, we were standing in the middle of a ruined village. Everything was quiet, but not peaceful quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl. Burned houses, broken carts, walls covered in strange claw marks that went higher than any human could reach. And here's the worst part. In the background, faint but steady, the footsteps were still there. Boom. Boom, boom. Now, usually when a horror game sets this kind of scene, you know what to expect. Some monster spawns after a timer. You run, you hide, classic stuff. But this didn't feel scripted. It felt alive. Like whatever was moving out there wasn't waiting for us to trigger it. It was already hunting. We tried moving forward, just to see if the game gave us any kind of tutorial, but the screen glitched. For a second, the sky above the village flickered into static, like an old VHS tape. And then, this still freaks me out, giant eyes appeared in the static. Not animated, not drawn, but almost photographic. Bloodshot, staring, blinking slowly like they knew we were watching back. At that point, I swear my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my headphones. I actually paused the game to make sure it wasn't my mic picking up some weird noise. Nope, it was just me, about to have a heart attack on stream, but here's the thing, we couldn't stop. You know that feeling when you're terrified, but also kind of addicted. That's exactly what this game does to you. Every single step forward felt like we were digging our own grave, but the thought of not seeing what was next was even worse. So we pushed on. We entered what looked like the center of the village. There was this well, old cracked stone with water so black it looked like a hole straight to nowhere. And around it, piles of bones, not animal bones, not even human bones, at least not normal ones. These were massive. Long, curved ribs bigger than our characters, skull fragments the size of our heads, and right there, carved into the stone of the well, were words in jagged, uneven letters, "You cannot kill him." We froze, like actually froze in silence. The game wasn't even trying to hide its cards anymore. It was straight up telling us we were screwed. And then, of course, the footsteps stopped, dead silent again. And you already know silence in horror never means safety. It means something worse is about to happen. We turned the camera around, super slow half, joking like, "Okay, who's behind us?" But nothing was there. Just the empty, broken village. And then the sound came back. But this time, not footsteps, breathing. Low, rumbling, chest-shaking breathing right into our ears. And I don't care how many horror games you've played. Nothing prepares you for breathing that feels like it's inside your headset. We panicked. We started sprinting through the village, clicking every door, smashing buttons, trying to find anything that would let us hide. But every door was locked, every single one. The only way forward was straight into the forest at the edge of the village. And trust me, every horror instinct in my body said, "Do not go in there." But we had no choice, and that's when the screen flickered again. For just a split second, before we crossed into the trees, we saw him, the giant. He wasn't moving, not yet, just standing at the far end of the village road. But he was massive, too massive, towering over the ruined houses like they were dollhouses. His body was covered in what looked like chains, broken and rusted, hanging from his arms and legs. And his head tilted just slightly, like he was studying us, waiting. Then the screen snapped back. He was gone. Just gone, and all that was left was the forest path ahead. But here's the question we couldn't shake. If he refuses to die, what exactly is he waiting for? The forest swallowed us almost instantly. The second we stepped off the broken village road, the world went dark. The trees weren't normal. They bent unnaturally, their branches curling like claws overhead, blocking out what little moonlight we had. Our characters' flashlights flickered with that classic battery drain effect, the kind that makes you question whether it's a game mechanic or just the game itself messing with you. The air felt thicker here, heavier. Even through the screen, it was like breathing was harder. The footsteps were gone, but that made it worse. Because silence in a forest this dense doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like something is listening, watching. Waiting, we moved slowly, almost tiptoeing our way forward, like the game could actually hear us. And then, snap. A twig, not from us, from deeper in the trees. My heart sank. We stopped. The screen froze for a second, just long enough to feel unnatural, like the game itself stuttered. And in that frozen half-second, I swear I saw movement between the trees, a massive silhouette shifting just out of sight. When the game caught back up, everything looked normal again, or at least as normal as it could. But from then on, every step felt wrong. Every crunch of leaves under our feet echoed way too loud. The forest didn't feel like a level anymore. It felt like a trap. And then the whispers started. Low, broken voices in the background, not even words at first, just mumbling, overlapping, like a dozen people talking through static. I thought maybe it was a glitchy audio loop, until one of the whispers said our username, out loud. Clear as day. I froze. I literally turned to my friend and asked if he heard the same thing. He just stared at me. Why? Died, didn't even answer. That was enough. We knew it wasn't just me, but here's the kicker. The voices didn't stop. They kept saying things. Turn back, he's coming. You can't kill him. Over and over, layered in this echoing nightmare chorus that felt like it was drilling straight into our skulls. And then the screen glitched again. For just 1 second, the forest background melted into static, and through it, the giant's face flickered. Not his whole body, just his face, his eyes, way too close, like he was right on the other side of the screen, waiting for us to blink. We kept moving because what else could we do? But the deeper we went, the more twisted the forest became. The trees weren't even trees anymore. They were bone, white, carved with symbols that pulsed faintly like veins under skin. And the path, it wasn't even dirt, it was ash, layers and layers of ash crunching under our feet like we were walking on something that had been burned a long time ago. And just when we thought it couldn't get worse, we found it. A clearing. In the center was this massive stone altar, cracked and covered in chains like something, or someone used to be bound there. And on top of it, blood, fresh, glowing faintly in the dark. My stomach turned. The game wasn't just giving lore at this point. It was telling us, in the most grotesque way possible, that someone tried to hold him here. And failed. The whispers stopped. Everything went silent. And then the chains rattled, not from the altar. From behind us, we whipped the camera around, and there he was, the giant, full view this time. His body scraped against the tops of the trees as he stepped into the clearing. his chains dragging through the ash with this horrible metallic screech. His face was pale, stretched, almost human, but warped into something way too long, with eyes that burned faintly red in the dark. And he didn't roar, he didn't scream, he just breathed. That was enough to send us into full panic mode. Sprinting through the forest, smashing every button, no plan, no strategy, just pure, raw fear, and the game didn't even give us a map. Every path looked the same. The trees bent closer, the whispers started again, and all the while, the ground shook with his footsteps as he chased us. At one point, we ducked into this hollow tree trunk, thinking maybe we could hide. Big mistake. The screen went pitch black, except for a single prompt that popped up. You think he can't smell you. And then we heard him laugh, not loud, not monstrous soft, low, almost human, and trust me, that was somehow worse. We bolted again, bursting out of the tree, sprinting deeper into the forest, hearts racing, heads spinning, completely lost. But somehow we stumbled into another clearing, and this one had something different, a cabin. Old, rotting, half-collapsed, but still standing. A possible safe zone. We ran straight for it, slammed the door shut behind us, even though we both knew that wouldn't stop him. The cabin was empty except for a table in the center, and on it, a book, thick leather, bound, covered in dust. We opened it, and inside were sketches, horrible sketches of the giant, his chains, his face, his towering body. Page after page of failed attempts to kill him, axes shattered, fires burned out, traps crushed under his weight. And on the last page, written in huge letters, "He will always rise." We didn't even get time to process it before the entire cabin shook. Dust rained from the ceiling, the chains outside rattled again. His breathing filled the room, vibrating through the floorboards like a second heartbeat. And then the screen went black, just for a second, just long enough to hear one final whisper, "Run." So we did, but what happened next? That's where everything started going horribly wrong. The moment the screen snapped back from black, we were already running. No countdown, no tutorial prompt, no warning. Just us, sprinting through that forest while everything shook like an earthquake with every step the giant took behind us. His chains clanged together with this deafening crash, like iron bells announcing our doom. And here's the thing, no matter how fast we ran, no matter how many turns we took, he never got further away. The footsteps stayed right on top of us, always pounding, always closing in. We ducked under fallen trees, vaulted over broken stone, smashed through dead branches. But the forest wasn't designed to help us. It was designed to trap us. Every corner looked the same. The trees bent closer, twisting into walls that funneled us forward, like the game wanted us to run exactly where it needed us to be. And then static, out of nowhere, the whole screen glitched with that same VHS effect. For just a second, we weren't even in the forest anymore. We were in some kind of dungeon, lit by torches, the walls covered in those same chains, and standing in the center was the giant, not chasing us, not moving, just watching. Like he was outside the game, pulling the strings, and then the forest snapped back. We were running again, but the glitch left this awful question in the back of our heads. What if he's not just in the game? The whispers came back too, this time louder, clearer, overlapping each other in this terrifying chant. He will not fall. He will not die. He will not fall. He will not die. Over and over, syncing perfectly with his footsteps. It wasn't just background noise anymore. It was like the forest itself was cheering for him. We spotted something ahead, an old watchtower half collapsed, but tall enough to maybe give us a chance to break line of sight. Without thinking, we bolted straight for it. The ladder creaked under our weight as we climbed, hearts pounding, hands shaking. We scrambled to the top and pulled ourselves onto the platform. For the first time since entering the forest, there was silence. No footsteps, no whispers, just silence. We leaned over the edge, scanning the trees below. Nothing. No movement, no giant. My friend actually laughed one of those shaky, nervous laughs that sound more like a breakdown than relief. He said maybe he can't climb ladders, and I was about to join in when crack, the whole tower shuddered. Usplinte your red, snapping under invisible pressure, then another, then path another. We both realized at the exact same time he wasn't climbing, he was pushing. The entire tower groaned, tilted, and before we could even scream, the screen lurched sideways. The tower collapsed, our characters plummeted, the world spun, the screen went black again, and in the darkness a single line of text appeared, "You can't outrun him." When the image returned, we were on the ground, injured, moving slower than before. Our sprint meter completely gone, and that's when the footsteps started again. Boom, 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 closer, louder, like he was savoring it. We tried crawling through the underbrush, praying he wouldn't see us, but the game wasn't having it. A shadow stretched across the ground, swallowing us in its shape. We looked up, and there he was, standing over us. Chains dragging, his head tilted, studying us like we were insects he hadn't decided how to crush yet. And then, instead of killing us, he turned and walked away, just like that. We sat there in stunned silence, controllers still in hand, waiting for the jump scare that never came. The giant just vanished into the trees, his footsteps fading until there was nothing left. It should have been a relief. But honestly, that was worse, because if he didn't kill us when he had the chance, then why not? What was he waiting for? We pushed forward again, limping through the forest, hoping for any kind of safe zone. That's when we found it. An old stone bridge, cracked and crumbling, stretching over a massive chasm. Below it, nothing but darkness, like an endless pit, and carved into the side of the bridge, in letters so jagged they looked scratched in with claws, were 3 words, "He always returns." We froze, staring at the writing, and then the footsteps started again, this time not from behind us. From both sides, somehow, some impossible way, there were 2 of him, and that's when everything went horribly, horribly wrong. Crossing that bridge felt like the longest walk of our lives. Every plank creaked under our weight. Every gust of wind howled like a warning. And the worst part, the footsteps on either side never stopped. One set behind us, another ahead of us. We didn't even know which way to look anymore. It felt like the game wasn't just chasing us. It was closing us in, herding us like prey. Halfway across, the screen glitched again. The bridge vanished for a second, replaced with a hallway made of stone walls lined with chains. Hundreds of chains, all dangling, swaying on their own. And through the static, a voice whispered not the overlapping whispers from before, but a single, clear voice. They tried to bind him. Then the image snapped back. We were on the bridge again, clinging to the controller like it was the only thing keeping us alive. We finally made it to the other side, and that's when we saw it, a massive stone door, carved right into the side of the mountain. It was sealed shut with heavy iron locks, glowing faintly red like they were alive. Next to it was a pedestal with a single candle burning, its flame flickering unnaturally against the wind. And on the pedestal, another book. We didn't want to read it. Honestly, by this point, we didn't want to touch anything the game was offering us. But there was no way forward without it, so we opened the book. Inside were pages of scripture rituals, chants, desperate scribbles in blood, red ink. And scattered across the pages were drawings of the giant, bound in chains, covered in wounds that never seemed to kill him. One line stood out, written over and over, scratched into the paper until it tore. He will not fall. He will not die. He will not rest. That's when it hit us. The villagers didn't just fear him, they tried to kill him, over and over, for centuries. They burned him, crushed him, drowned him, even buried him alive. And every time he came back, stronger, angrier. We were reading all of this out loud, half in disbelief, half just to fill the silence, when suddenly the book slammed shut on its own. The candle blew out, and the screen went black again. When it lit back up, we weren't at the pedestal anymore. We were inside the stone chamber behind the door, like the game had decided to skip us straight through. The room was enormous, circular, with chains hanging from the ceiling like giant spider webs. In the center was a pit, deep, dark, bottomless. And carved into the walls over and over in that same jagged script, "He will not die." We crept closer to the pit, and that's when the camera shook. A hand, no, not a hand, a claw shot up from the darkness below, massive fingers clutching the edge of the pit. The ground rumbled, chains rattled, and slowly, agonizingly slowly, something began to climb out. We backed away, pressing our characters against the wall like that would help. The camera tilted, forcing us to look down as the giant's head emerged. His eyes locked on us instantly. Burning red, unblinking, filled with something that wasn't just rage. It was hunger. And then the game glitched again. But this time it wasn't just visual. My screen froze on his face. My friend's screen. It showed something different. A completely different message. Mine said, "You cannot escape." His said, "You will join him." We sat there, staring at each other, realizing the game was giving us two different fates. And neither of them sounded good. The giant hauled himself out of the pit, chains snapping one by one, each sound like a gunshot in our ears. His full body filled the chamber, towering over us until he was all we could see. And just when we thought he was about to crush us, the screen cut to black. A single line of text appeared, "This is not your death. This is his beginning." And then the screen lit up again, placing us somewhere completely different. A place that wasn't even in the game before. That's when we realized the giant wasn't the only thing refusing to die. The game itself was changing, bending, twisting, keeping itself alive no matter what we did. And the next place it dropped us into. That's where things went from terrifying to impossible. When the screen came back, we weren't in the forest anymore. We weren't even in the village. We were standing in nothing. Just a flat, endless stretch of ground, black as tar, stretching into a horizon that didn't even look real. The sky was blood, red, swirling like liquid, and the air, it hummed. Not with music, not with wind. Just this low, vibrating hum that felt like it was inside our skulls. The HUD was gone, no health bar, no stamina meter, nothing. Just us, alone, or at least we thought so. At first, there was no sound, just that awful humming, but then, faintly, a voice, not whispers this time. One voice, deep, broken, echoing, "You cannot kill me." It wasn't coming from the speakers. I swear it was coming from the space around us, like it was vibrating through the room itself. We tried moving forward, hoping there was some kind of exit, but the ground beneath us started to change. Every step we took, the surface rippled like water, and when it rippled, faces appeared, human faces stretched and twisted, screaming silently before melting back into the black. It was like the ground was made of everything he'd already killed, and maybe everything that had tried to kill him. Then the game glitched hard. The screen flickered white, like lightning, and for one frame, just one frame, I swear I saw my own webcam feed flash across the corner of the screen. Not my character, me, sitting there frozen, and then it was gone. I yanked my headset off, my heart pounding. My friend's voice cut through. "Did you see that?" And that was the moment we realized we both saw our webcams flash. The game wasn't just playing us anymore. It was watching us. We pressed on, because what else could we do? The landscape shifted around us like a living nightmare. Towers of bone rising out of the ground, chains dangling from the blood, red sky, the hum turning into something closer to a chant. And far in the distance we saw him, the giant, taller than he had ever looked before, his silhouette blotting out the horizon. We thought maybe it was just a cutscene, but then the screen gave us control. The giant was moving toward us, his body tearing through the world like it wasn't even solid. Every step he took, the ground cracked, faces screamed, and the chant grew louder. He will not fall. He will not die. He will not fall. He will not die. We ran. Again, but this wasn't like before. The world bent around us, folding in on itself. Paths looped back, doors appeared and vanished, and sometimes we'd find ourselves running towards something only to glitch right back where we started. The game wasn't letting us escape. It was playing with us. At one point, we turned a corner and came face to face with ourselves. Our characters, just standing there, frozen, identical to us, but their eyes were missing, just empty black sockets. And when we got close, they opened their mouths and screamed not with sound, but with static so loud it rattled the speakers. The screen tore in half like the game itself couldn't handle what it was showing. We stumbled away from them, shaking, trying to regroup when the giant's shadow fell across the ground. He was there again, closer this time, his chains dragging, sparks flying from the ground as they scraped. And then he spoke again, not in whispers, not in chants, directly. You will not kill me. You will not escape me. You will become me. We froze. Completely froze, because the second he said it, our screens changed. My username flashed across his chest like it was carved into his skin. My friends burned into his arm, like we weren't just players anymore. We were part of him. The world around us collapsed. The black ground cracked open, massive fissures, tearing across the horizon. The faces in the ground screamed louder, the chant turned into laughter, and the giant raised one massive hand like he was about to crush us where we stood. And then everything stopped. The screen froze, no movement, no sound, just silence. For 10 whole seconds we sat there, staring at the frozen image of the giant towering over us. And then, slowly, the words appeared on screen, "You are mine now." The screen went black, and when it lit back up again, we weren't in the nightmare realm anymore. We were back in the village, right where it all started, but this time something was different, very different. We were back in the village, same burned houses, same broken carts, same eerie silence. At first, we thought maybe the game had just restarted, like all of that nightmare realm stuff was some insane fever dream of a level. But it didn't feel the same. The air was heavier now, thicker. The buildings weren't just ruins anymore. They were rotting, sagging, like they'd been standing here for hundreds of years longer than before. The well in the center, overflowing with black water that rippled on its own, like something underneath was breathing. And worst of all, no footsteps, no whispers, no giant, and somehow that was even scarier. We started walking through the village, testing every door again, every alley, just trying to see if anything had changed. And that's when we noticed it. On the walls, scratched into the stone, were words that hadn't been there before. Our names, my username, my friends, over and over, carved deep into the walls like we'd been here for centuries. We laughed nervously, trying to play it off. Ha, great, now the game's doxing us. But inside, I think we both knew this wasn't funny anymore. The game wasn't just using our names, it was keeping them. Then came the sound, not footsteps this time. Knockings slow, deliberate knocking from inside the houses. One by one, each door started rattling, each window shaking, as if something, no, many things, were trapped inside, all trying to get out. The knocking grew louder, harder, until it wasn't knocking anymore. It was pounding, like 100 fists slamming against wood and stone, desperate to break free. We spun the camera around, trying to find where to go, when suddenly the screen glitched again, and there he was. The giant not outside this time, not in the distance. His face filled the entire screen, staring straight at us. His voice shook the speakers, deeper than ever before. You cannot kill me because I am already inside you. The game crashed. Just shut itself down. We were dumped back to the desktop, staring at the icon. But here's the thing. The icon had changed. It wasn't the game's logo anymore. It was his face, just his burning red eyes. We sat there in silence. Neither of us wanted to click it again. Neither of us wanted to see what would happen next. And then, knock. Not from the game, from inside the room. I froze. My friend froze. We looked at each other through our mics like, that was just your side, right? But no, we both heard it. Loud, clear, slow. 3 knocks. And that's when I ended the recording. Because if the giant refuses to die inside the game, who's to say he hasn't already found a way out? So yeah, safe to say we're never opening that game at night again.